Good afternoon, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. And we're looking forward to this afternoon, us being together and hearing some interesting presentations. First, I welcome a welcome from Mark Blanford, and he isn't able to join us in person, but he's prepared a recording.
Good afternoon and welcome to this latest Dialogue on Aging session. My name is Mark Blanford, talking to you from Vancouver. I'm the Vice President for Seniors Care and Clinical Operations for Providence Healthcare and for Providence Living based on Vancouver Island. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this session, and with humility, I acknowledge that I currently work, live and play on the unceded traditional homelands of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and we thank them for their custody of this land upon which we all live and work. It's a great pleasure to invite you to this session. I'm sorry that I can't be with you. I was hoping to be with you, but the pandemic still continues to drag us away from regular work, and that's indeed what I'm having to deal with today, a few issues related to the pandemic. But I should say, in regard to the pandemic, at least here in British Columbia, we seem to be improving our situation. We're upwards of around 85% of our long-term care population fully vaccinated. We're very close to 90% of our staff being vaccinated. And the vaccine is indeed making a massive difference to the quality of life of our residents. We've seen increased visitation into our long-term care facilities, and we're seeing symptoms of COVID being much less for people who have been vaccinated. So every month we talk to you, the situation improves, and indeed we're starting to move toward some of the strategic things we need to do to prevent effects of a pandemic, as well as looking at how we can promote improved care for seniors in long-term care in the future. So lots of activity starting to happen that's not COVID related, more related to the quality of life of seniors in our care. So please know that things are improving, at least from where we stand in British Columbia and from Vancouver. I'm aware that some people will be joining us from across the country, and we welcome you to this session. I hope you'll enjoy, as previous sessions have been really interesting. So today's session, we're lucky to have Dr. Davidicus Wong from UBC. Dr. Wong's going to be talking to us about thriving during the pandemic. I wish I could be here in that session in person, but I will look forward to the recording later. And then for those of us who certainly feeling guilty about our fitness as we get older, we're going to hear from Nancy Cho, a physiotherapist and associate professor at UBC, just how to prepare ourselves for fitness into old age. So I think the two sessions you're going to hear about today are going to be really interesting, as the previous sessions have been, and I look forward to hearing the recordings myself. So welcome, thank you for joining us, and please sit back and enjoy today's session.
So I'm very happy now to begin our program by introducing Sarah Eveneshen, and she is the provincial coordinator of the the Alzheimer Society of BC, and she's been very much involved in designing a program that helped them through the pandemic, focusing on the online and telephone services that could be provided to people across the province. So, Sarah, welcome. We're interested to hear about that initiative. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for having me. I'll just get my slides coming up here. I'm thrilled to be able to tell you guys about the programs that we have currently available that are offered virtually. I do want to put it out there, as soon as it's safe for us to resume in-person programs, we are more than excited to get that going. Of course, we don't know exactly when that will be at this time, as is the nature of the pandemic. Can everyone see my slides okay? think so. I'm just, okay,
Yes.
perfect. I'm going to assume that those are up. Great, perfect. So I only have about 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to give just enough information so that you know what we have going on. And then I will encourage you, if you have any additional questions, to call our First Link Dementia helpline. I can drop that number in the chat once I'm done speaking here, and as well, we'll have a resource that will be shared after the session that will give an overview of some of our virtual programs as well. Okay. So since the start of the pandemic, we've been offering webinars every week. So these have typically been every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, but some days it's different. So I really encourage you to go to our website, alzbc.org/webinars. On that website, we have a list of what's coming up, our schedule of webinars, and you can also sign up to receive notifications of what's coming up. So that way you don't have to worry about missing an important topic. And we really try to be responsive to what's coming up for people. So if we're hearing that there's a lot of questions about a particular behavior or advocacy or long-term care, then we try to create content that's geared towards what it is that is relevant for people at the time. And if you miss the session, we do record the videos and they get posted up on the website within a week. So just letting you know, there's some great videos already up there. And we do encourage you to come in and join our webinars. They're 1 hour. So hopefully there's something there for everybody. We have virtual support groups for caregivers. To date, we have 28 different groups. Again, hopefully there's something there for everybody. So some groups are specific to health authority if you want to connect with people within your region. And we also have more specialized groups that are open to anybody across the province who's supporting somebody living with dementia. And this includes groups in Cantonese and Mandarin. We have groups for adult children, caregivers of someone in long-term care, someone of young onset dementia, Lewy body dementia, which is starting next month, and LGBTQ+ caregivers, or caregivers of somebody who is living with dementia and is LGBTQ+, and as well as a support group for people who are caring for someone with behavioral variant frontal temporal dementia. All groups meet monthly for 90 minutes to an hour and a half. And yeah, you have the option of joining by video or by telephone. So I really want to encourage that if you feel like, online programs is not for me, you can pick up the phone and call in. So really, I hope that there's something there for everyone to get support with what they need. And I'm very excited to announce that we are currently taking registration for our early stage groups, and the first groups meet on Monday. So this is a new development for us that we're very excited to offer for people who are living with the early symptoms of dementia. I do want to note that you do not have to have a diagnosis of dementia to access our programs. We understand that some people never get a diagnosis, or they get a diagnosis and it changes, but as long as you're experiencing those early symptoms of dementia, you're welcome to join our programs. And so with the early stage groups, we have 2 types of groups. We have one called Coffee and Chat. This is a bit more informal, so you can come and connect with people living with dementia and just really talk about anything that you want to talk about. It's a chance to come together and socialize. And then we have the more structured early stage support groups. So these groups are a little bit more focused. So there's a discussion around a dementia topic, about the lived experience of dementia, where you can share strategies, and there's often a guided discussion as well. Okay, and all these groups meet every 2 weeks for about an hour. And I also want to note that for the online groups, because for the early stage groups, they're all online, but we do have one telephone only option. We do have practice sessions available where you can practice connecting to the platform and joining a meeting before the program starts. So I hope that encourages you that if you have any concerns at all about the technology piece, we're doing our best to support you. And so you will have options to get that support as well. Okay, and I'm worried that I'm running out of time, so I apologize if I'm going a little fast here. Like I said, I'll have that handout for you. Minds in Motion Online is the last program that I'll tell you about. And so this is our physical and social activity program for a person living with dementia to attend with a care partner. So it starts with a 30-minute recorded fitness video, and then there's a 45-minute social activity. And it is a ton of fun. I've sat in on a few sessions and everybody's smiling and laughing, and it's a great way to get connected and have some activity in your day. So I really do encourage you to check that out. When you register, it's for an 8-week series. Our next series starts not next week, but the following week. So we're just starting up another 8-week series there. All right, and our First Link Dementia Helpline. So if you have any questions about living with dementia, if you are needing some support and you want to talk through a situation, or if you want to register for any of our virtual programs, we encourage you to call our First Link Dementia Helpline, and we can help you with all of that. So it's sort of that one-stop shop, one number to connect to. So our English line is available Monday to Friday, 9 to 8. And then we have a service in Cantonese or Mandarin and Punjabi. That's Monday to Friday, 9 to 4. And I'll just drop that number in the chat box as well there. So I hope I didn't go over time. I wanted to leave a minute for questions if anybody has any questions. So I'll just stop sharing my screen there, since I'll put the number in the chat box. Great, and then if I can open it up, does anybody have any questions about our programs? I know I ran through that pretty quickly.
So you can either put questions in the chat or feel free to raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
Okay, I don't
Mary
see any.
Lou, you're muted.
Thank you very much for that great overview, Sarah. And to just remind everyone again that the information that you have provided and the links will also be in our newsletter that goes out. And so people have a few different ways to follow up, of course, on the Alzheimer's Society website. I must say I was especially interested, excited to hear about your new program for the early stage. I hear people, you know, in the community kind of raising questions about early stage, and I think that opportunity for them to come together sounds just like it's going to be a very welcome situation for a number of people. So congratulations on getting that new program started.
Thank you, thank you. And again, I just really wanted to reiterate, you can join online or by phone, and you do not need a diagnosis to access the programs. If you have any questions at all, just please call the Dementia Helpline and we'll give you more information and help you get registered there. So thank you so much for having me. I look forward to the rest of the session.
Thank you, Sarah. So now it is my pleasure to welcome Nancy Cho, and Nancy is a registered physiotherapist. She works out of Vancouver Coastal Health. She has provided a whole range of services and leaderships over her time that she has worked in various roles as a physiotherapist. Currently, she's providing support to patients leaving the hospital and needing support at home in terms of activities. And it is that Nancy, it just, as I said, has the whole realm of expertise and different ways that she can look at fitness at different ages and stages in aging. So we really welcome Nancy to share that expertise with us and lots of ideas about how to move forward. And I'd like to also mention that this particular topic really connects so well with a number of our speakers that have brought expertise in other areas such as brain health and mental health, etc. And they've all linked to the importance of good, you know, to being as mobile, to staying fit. And so they're not talking about that in detail. So we're looking to Nancy to give us some guidance in that. So over to you, Nancy.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm excited to talk to you about exercise and physical activity. So exercise by definition is a planned, structured, repetitive, intentional movement, whereas physical activity is any movement that uses your muscles and require energy. There's a lot of information that I could share with you, but I wanted to focus on one thing. Let's do it. So for people, this is not an easy task to schedule into your day, but exercise is very personal and should be customized so that you can meet your goals, be committed to a routine, and be proud of accomplishing something for your own health and well-being. So age is not a barrier. Disability shouldn't be a barrier. Not even the weather should be a barrier if you're a true Vancouverite. So take the first step to move, set a goal so you can see your accomplishments, and then challenge yourself to do more. Why exercise, or why should you be moving your body every day? Here's some reasons why. It helps your brain health. It helps your heart, improve your endurance. It strengthens your muscles and helps with joint flexibility. You can improve your lung volume and your breathing pattern with exercise and physical activity. And also, it improves and enhances your immune system, which is so important during the COVID pandemic. Exercise improves the strength, sleep, balance, mood, breathing, energy, thinking. And when you exercise, your bowels move, so you're less constipated. If you need some exercise to help you remain living in your own home, physical activity keeps you independent. You can avoid or delay going to a care home, put less stress on your family. Exercise helps you walk or move more easily, and keeps you doing the activities you enjoy. Physical activity helps you age well, reduce the risk of dementia and cancer, and even live well with the chronic disease. If you need more convincing, review the past dialogue and aging series. So topics such as sleep health, Dr. Laundrie's talk, dementia risk factors and prevention, Dr. Beatty's talk, and maximizing your brain health, Dr. Alex Henry Bagrava, and mindfulness and aging with Dr. Drance. So write in your chat what physical activities you have been doing during this COVID pandemic. Are you doing your 1,000 steps a day? Are you aiming for 150 minutes of exercise per week? So remember, physical activity is any movement of muscles that require energy. So some people enjoy exercising alone, so they can think or debrief their day or have some meditative time. Others enjoy group exercises for socialization, cheering each other on, and developing new friendships or networks. So on this slide, I have various physical activities that people can do: walking, cycling, swimming, dancing, hiking, running, etc. And then there's more group type activities such as OsteoFit, Healthy Heart, GLAD for arthritis, FAME for neurological and stroke, LSPT, Big and Loud Parkinson's exercises, and then your yoga, aerobics, and Pilates. Here's some exercise options. We will have these available in a handout after the presentation. So there's steady feet, OsteoFit or get up and go. Time is together in movement and exercise, and that's offered in Vancouver and in Surrey. This program was actually initially developed in Ontario. FAME is a fitness and movement and exercise. Then there's some other online exercise education manuals and videos. Vivifrail, strategies and actions for independent living, and the physical activity service that used to be called PAL. And then at UBC, they have Bodyworks and Changing Aging. So every municipality offers different unique opportunities. So make sure you go online or phone your community center and find out what's available in your area. So the verdict is, find something you like doing, do it on your own, or partner up with a friend, or join a group, and set a SMART goal. So a SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So for example, I'm going to ride my stationary bike 20 minutes twice a week in my home gym in the morning before breakfast for the next 4 weeks. Well, how fit do you think you are? If you're not sure already, here's a simple test to find out. And we're going to do this together. So I'm going to get everyone to do the sit to stand test. There's two versions of this test. There's a 5 times sit to stand, which you sit on a chair with your arms crossed in front, and you get the person to sit and stand 5 times, and you time how many seconds it takes them to complete the 5 sit to stands. If it takes you more than 16 seconds, you're at higher risk for falls. So in my practice, I've had people that took 90 seconds, so that's a minute and a half, and I've had other clients that can do it in 12 seconds. So what I'd like to do with you today is I'm wanting you to find a solid chair without wheels, approximately 17 inches high, so a standard dining room chair. And then I'm going to count 30 seconds. And then I'm going to ask you to, just as in the little diagram, go from sitting to standing all the way up and back down again. So I'm going to count for 30 seconds, and you keep track of how many sit to stands you can do in the 30 seconds. And then I'm going to get you to put your score in the chat. So here we go. Sit comfortably in the chair, hands crossed in front of me. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, and stop. So if you can put your score in the chat box. And here are some normative scores for community residing adults, 60 to 94 years of age. So for example, if you are between 64 and 69, for women, you should be able to do 11 to 16 sit to stands. For men, it's between 12 and to 18 sit to stands. So I can't see the chat box.
Nancy, we've got numbers ranging from 12 to 30.
Excellent, 30, star. Okay, thanks everyone for participating. So McMaster University is presenting walking speed as a new vital sign. So when you're recovering from an acute illness or hospitalization, so for example, recovering from COVID-19, you've had a hip fracture or a total hip replacement, total knee replacement, you've had a stroke, or you've had any type of surgery or medical condition, gait speed or walking speed is an outcome measure that I use with every client I see in the community. So here's how you do it. So you find a straight, flat walkway that is 20 meters long, and then you would mark where the first 5 meters, that would be your starting point, and then you would measure 10 meters and put another mark, and that's your finish of timing, and then you would do the next 5 meters is your slowdown. So you want to be measuring your time at your fastest speed. So you have your acceleration, the first part, you time your 10 meters, and then the cutoff, and then you decelerate your walking speed. When I'm in a home situation and I don't have 20 meters, I measure out 6 meters and I do a 4-meter walk test. So those are some tests that we can do as a vital sign on how people are functioning. So here are the standardized scores. So for example, if I was a woman, 70 to 79, my average self-selected walk speed is 1.13 meters per second, and the range is 1.07 to 1.19. So you can do this yourself when you find time. Nice sunny day, you can go out to the sidewalk, find a nice flat sidewalk, and mark out 20 meters. Some other health and fitness measures that you could do on your own is a resting heart rate. So if your resting heart rate is 60 or less, that's really good. 61 to 80, that's average. 81 to 100 is high, but still acceptable. And if your resting heart rate is more than 101, you need to go seek medical assistance. Another fitness measure is push-ups. So for men, 30 or more is excellent. For women, 25 or more is excellent. For men, 25 to 29 is good, and for women, it's 20 to 24. For men, 20 to 24, not bad. For women, 15 to 19. And then if you can do only 19 or less, for men, that's not good, needs some work. And for women, 14 or less, needs some work. Other fitness measures are waist to hip ratio, the body mass index, and flexibility, your neck turning. So you can find all these tests and measures on the internet, and you can monitor and test yourselves. So the Canadian 24-hour movement guideline looks at physical activity, sedentary behavior, and sleep. The CSEP guidelines can be found on the internet. So they are recommending moderate to vigorous aerobic physical activities, 150 minutes per week, which is about 20 minutes per day. Twice a week, you should be doing some resisted muscle strengthening activities, and then several hours of light physical activity, including standing. So trying to avoid sedentary behavior. For sleep, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep on a regular basis is what is recommended. So consistent bedtime and wake up times is recommended, and you can review Dr. Laundrie's sleep health video, and he speaks of this. With regards to sedentary behavior, limiting sedentary behavior to 8 hours or less. So no more than 3 hours of recreational screen time, and then taking breaks during long periods of sitting. So if you're sitting for an hour or two, stand up, give yourself a stretch, or walk around your area. Speaking of balance, here's an easy balance test you can do at home. This helps measure your postural and balance control. So we're going to do this together now. So I'm going to get you to stand behind a chair or in front of a table, some solid piece of furniture. And then you're going to bend one knee, and then I'm going to count to 60, and then you're going to let go of your hands. So you're balancing on one foot with your knee slightly bent, and then letting your hands go. So so I'm going to count to 60, so just keep track of when you have to put your leg down. Okay, you're ready? So find something, stand up, find a sturdy support first, and then we're going to lift one leg. Okay, are you ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. So if you're still standing, give yourself a pat on the back. Please put your score in the chat. So this single leg stance, you can do it with your eyes open, or you can do it with your eyes closed. So for example, if you are 60 to 69, if you with your eyes open, you should be able to stand single leg stance for 26 seconds. And when you close your eyes, 5 seconds. Normally, I challenge my clients to try and work so that they can do a single leg stance for 60 seconds. So did we get any scores in the chat?
No, don't appear to have any scores this time.
Okay, so maybe later on you can try it on your own time and just count yourself how many seconds that you can stand. Strategies and actions for independent living, or SAIL. So for family members or yourselves who are recovering from hospitalizations, or you are a frail senior, the home exercise program with SAIL is one component of the program. This is a good generic home exercise program that you can do with no equipment except for a kitchen sink, so you can hold on to. This is research by Dr. Vicky Scott from the BC Injury Research and Prevention Unit. She's retired now, but she did some research for many years on this SAIL program. So it's well researched. You can ask your doctor, nurse, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, or home support supervisor, or any healthcare profession, and they can tell you what level is best for you. There's 3 levels of difficulty: sitting, standing, and moving. So we will send you in the handout these links to the exercises. So the first level is sitting. There are 7 exercises in each of the levels. Here's an example of one. So this is march on the spot while you're sitting. You raise each knee high as you can, and then count for 5 to 10 seconds and rest, and then repeat. And then you progress that by being able to do that up to 15 times. And if you're having trouble doing it, then do it slower and for a longer period of time. So maybe 2 minutes without resting. Level 2 is standing. There's also 7 exercises in this level. All the levels actually do this one. It's the sit to stand. And you have to find a nice firm chair with armrests. And then you can use your hands to push up if needed. And then as you get stronger in your legs, then you need not use your arms as much. And then eventually you can do it with your arms crossed in front of your chest. Level 3 is moving. An example from this level is forward and backward walking. So you walk forward on your toes, 3 to 5 steps, and then walk backwards. And then walk forward on your heels, 3 to 5 steps, and then backwards. And then you would progress this by doing more, so up to 15 times in each direction. Vancouver Coastal Health has a Stay on Your Feet brochure. It's available in English, Punjabi, Chinese, and Farsi. It has information on vision, causes of falls, taking risks, medication, how to manage fear of falling, what to do when you fall, how to access home and community environments and avoid hazards. I have this example of getting up after a fall. So many times people have a fear of falling so that they limit their physical activity. But if they have practiced how to get up from the floor, I normally see people get more confident at trying to move more and try to exercise a bit more. So when you find someone on the floor, make sure that they are able to move their arms and legs carefully and that they haven't broken anything. Make sure they haven't lost consciousness. If you're unsure, call an ambulance and they will come and help you get your loved one up. But if they're able to move their arms and legs and can follow your instructions, get them to roll onto their side, get on all fours, and either crawl or drag yourself over to a chair. If you're outdoors in the community, find a park bench or a stone wall or a lamppost and hold on to that. And then put one foot on the floor flat, and then use your arms and your leg to pull yourself around to sit on the chair. And then rest until you feel safe again before you move. So everyone should practice this. If you have a loved one that is a bit frail, they should also practice this, and that will help them combat that fear of falling. I wanted to highlight 3 Canadian universities doing research on aging. There are many universities around the world focusing on gerontology studies, but I picked 3 in Canada. So UBC Institutes and Centers on Aging. There are over 80 researchers that work on various aspects of aging. They use a variety of approaches, including basic, clinical, social, and population level research. These researchers span both campuses, Vancouver and Okanagan, and 9 faculties. So that's including medicine, arts, education, applied science, pharmaceutical sciences, science, dentistry, law, and the Faculty of Health and Social Development at University of Okanagan. So aging, for the first time in Canada's history, there are more seniors than there are children. So to address these new health challenges, these various labs have been developed. So Institute for Healthy Living and Chronic Disease Prevention, that's at UBC Okanagan. Aging, Mobility and Cognitive Neuroscience Lab, Fitness, Aging and Stress Lab, and the Health and Adult Development Lab, and then the Active Aging BC. McMaster University has an optimal aging portal. So they have videos and topics around supportive homes and communities, mobility, transportation, healthy lifestyles and wellness, which is our topic today, how to stay connected, and cognitive health and dementia. And then there's a part on healthcare and health service delivery, and then financial wellness and employment. One of the studies looked at what are effective strategies to enhance the capacity of communities to promote physical activities among older adults. They found that developing community-based coalitions and developing competencies of older adults are important to promote physical activity. So coming to a session like this is helping people be more educated about physical activity. In Ryerson University, this is in Toronto, they have the National Institute of Aging. They look at 4 pillars supporting a national seniors strategy for Canada. So the one that we're talking about today is healthy and active lives. But the other 3 pillars are independent, productive, and engaged citizens, having care closer to home, and then giving support to caregivers. Well, May is National Physiotherapy Month, and physiotherapy promotes healthy aging by keeping everybody moving for life. So it's your choice. Be active, get outside during the pandemic, and exercise for life. Set a SMART goal. Start small, be creative, and make it fun. My challenge to people who are already quite active now is to find someone, a friend, a neighbor, a relative who is not active or has been in the hospital recently and has become sedentary. Be a change agent and support someone else to move and sit less. Here's some other resources that are useful: the Finding Balance, the Osteoarthritis Program at VCH, the Center for Aging and Brain Health at Baycrest in Ontario. Pain BC is an excellent resource for both clinicians and people suffering with chronic pain. There's also links to videos for all the SAIL exercises. And then I've also added the New Zealand Otago exercise program. So they have the manual and the YouTube videos. So just do it. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Walk instead of driving. Make a walking date with a friend. If you like walking alone, bring your cell phone and call up a friend while you're walking and chat on the phone. Just take that first step to do it. Thank you.
Well, and thank you very much, Nancy. That was a very comprehensive overview, and I love doing those little tests as well. And I did do the one on the stand on one foot. I think that I was at 44, and I think you said 60 was a goal, so I have a ways to go. I thought that 44 was pretty good.
Excellent.
So we have a few minutes for questions. So as usual, you can put your question in the chat box or share with us your question directly. So just over to our friends in the audience for any questions.
So I believe Hilda has her hand up. Hilda, you're unmuted.
Hi, Hilda.
Hi. Yeah, I think exercise is really important, and I think it's good to do some in the morning and some in the evening, and I find I always feel better when I do that. Yes.
Great. You can definitely do it in 10-minute chunks of time. You don't have to do your full 20 minutes in one go. So sometimes people do little chunks of activity. Also, I want to remind people that, you know, doing housework is also considered a physical activity. So there's a thing called METs, metabolic equivalent tasks. So for example, dishwashing is a light activity. It's worth 2 METs. And sweeping the floor is 3 METs. Vacuuming is 3 METs. Mowing the lawn is 5 METs. So these METs tell you how much oxygen consumption or energy costs of doing an activity. So if you walk slowly, it's 2 METs. If you walk briskly, it's 3 METs. And if you're jogging, it's 6 METs. So those are some of the other kind of things to take into consideration is the intensity of the activity that you're doing.
Have we got time for one more, Mary Lou?
Yes, one more. Thank you.
All right, Barb. Oh, let's just get you unmuted. Okay, Barb, you just need to unmute yourself.
Hi, Barb.
And maybe just while Barb is finding her unmute button, we did have a question, and I don't know if you've got some suggestions from a spouse who's looking after a loved one in hospital. And with the visitation limitations and short staffing, she wasn't able to get permission to hire in a physio to spend more time with her spouse. And I know that's a policy issue. Not sure if you have any suggestions in there.
I think that's an excellent question. I always encourage family members to do exercises with their loved ones because that gives them something to do while they're visiting as well. So depending on what's wrong with the person, you can do arm exercises, just squish, pumping your fists, lifting your arms up, bending your elbows. For your legs, you can get them to pump their ankles up and down, bend their hip and knees up and down. You can also get them to do a bridging, you know how like a bedpan maneuver where you put both feet flat on the bed and you lift your bottom up. If they're very weak, you can even get them just to squeeze their buttocks and then relax, and that helps keep the muscle toned because those are the muscles you need when you stand up. So there's lots of exercises you can do while in bed or it's sitting in the chair. So please do that.
And I see that we have quite a few additional questions coming. Shall we, Mary Lou, do we want those in the chat for follow-up?
Yes, let's take one more, and then we will do the follow-up in the chat. So we'll ensure that Nancy sees those, and we will respond in the next newsletter.
Okay, so next question is Donna, and go ahead, Donna.
Oh, can I speak?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, thanks, Nancy. It was amazing. One of my passions is long-term care, and I'm wondering all your wonderful ideas. Is there any way we can incorporate them into long-term care?
Absolutely. So there is, I think there was something in Vancouver Coastal Health. I know there was some exercise programs that were tweaked for long-term care so that those modules are available. If you could leave a contact in the chat, and then maybe we can chat online and connect. But definitely,
I would love to do that, Nancy. I'm actually looking at developing an aging workshop, an anti, you know, the debunking the myths with aging. So yes, I will. Christine knows my. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Perfect.
thank you. A wonderful presentation. Bless you.
I'm delighted to welcome a dear friend of the Dialogue on Aging, Dr. Davidicus Wong. He has provided us with most engaging and interesting and current conversations over many years. This, though, is the first time that we've had Dr. Wong virtually, and we're delighted to have you with us today. Many of you will have, who live in Vancouver or in BC, will have also enjoyed Dr. Wong's columns in local newspapers. Over the years, he has presented a variety of most important conversations with us. They always, though, had at the core of them and shared Dr. Wong's most amazing positive outlook on life. And we are delighted to have him sharing with us today the strategies that are so important during this time of COVID, kind of the not just surviving, but thriving in COVID and beyond. So welcome, Dr. Wong.
Thank you, Mary Lou. Thank you for that really kind introduction. And thank you so much for organizing this wonderful resource, the Dialogue on Aging. So the topic today is surviving and thriving during the pandemic and beyond. So I'm trying to offer some practical strategies to cope with aging, which we're all experiencing at this moment, the uncertainty of the pandemic and life itself, and the everyday challenges of life. So it's been quite a year that we've all been through, and you're all survivors. And I feel like an imposter because I know in this virtual room, there's so much wisdom you all share, and you all are survivors. So you're all doing things to cope and to thrive already. So I hope it's not all repetition or review for you. And so I'm going to try to present what I feel have been helpful for myself, my patients, and the people I've come across in life, adapting these life skills to the challenges ahead of us. I remember about a year ago, I was in Metrotown and I was seeing these little stickers, and I realized they weren't stickers; they're actually permanent fixtures on the linoleum on the mall floor. So I thought, oh, I didn't think it was going to be lasting this long. But they're still there. We're still physically distancing, and at the beginning of the pandemic, we were trying to be really enthusiastic. We wore our PPE. So this is a photo of me enthusiastically wearing my Captain America PPE. But it's all kind of grown wary for all of us. So trying to offer a few things to encourage you and help us all get through this together. So 3 key things I think we need to remember during the pandemic is, number 1, you are not alone, even though we're all in our separate places. In spirit and in social connections, we are still together. Number 2 is you have the strength and the support to make it through. And thirdly, together, we're going to come through this stronger and more connected than ever. So we're not alone. You're part of a greater whole. And how we're feeling is a normal response to the circumstances we're all going through. And you have the strength and support to make it through. With this great organization and with all the facilities and supports in your own community. The family docs, the divisions of family doctor in Vancouver, Burnaby, and all the areas throughout BC are available. So reach out to them. That's the divisions of family practice. So in all of your communities, we've been working with our community and all the stakeholders to try to look after everyone socially, financially, emotionally, because we're all suffering, but many are suffering in different ways at both stages of the spectrum. We have the ability to manage our emotions, and we can expand our perspectives, and we have the community supports that I mentioned to support everyone. And what we really learned is that we are better together. And I really believe that we're going to come through this stronger and more connected than ever before. We're going to emerge with a renewed appreciation of one another, of our communities, our sense of connection, and with renewed compassion for everyone. So we're not alone in how we're feeling. We're all feeling quite anxious and stressed with all the uncertainty and worries about our own health, that of our loved ones and neighbors, about many suffering with housing and finances, with businesses closing. We're feeling sad and we're grieving those we've lost and missing the people, the rituals and the activities that really give our life everyday meaning. Many of us have been having difficulty sleeping, waking up in the middle of the night, having crazy dreams. And many of us have been feeling lonely and isolated, and at times feeling helpless and sometimes hopeless. But what have we learned? I'd like to share this with friends and patients of what we've learned during the pandemic. I think what we've really learned is what we value most, and it's really that our relationships, above anything else, matters absolutely the most, more than anything else. And I like to reflect on what's on your list. What's your to-do list? Because that's something to look forward to. We've had a poster in our office about upcoming events, the post-pandemic party to be announced. So still to be announced when that will be. But you probably have a list of things that you want to do, like be able to go to the community center, the local senior center. It's a really hub for feeling connected again with our community, or going back to church or religious services, or just having a hug with your favorite people. So we all kind of have this to-do list. So it's kind of nice to reflect on what we're going to do soon when this pandemic is under control. But really, the list we should be making is our who is on your to-be with list, those favorite people that you really miss. I really miss not seeing my dad in person, not being able to give him a hug. This is the longest I've ever gone without giving my dad a hug. But I've talked to him frequently on the phone and then seen him at a distance on special occasions, but really miss that physical presence that we all miss. So think about who you have on your to be with list. And while you're waiting to be with them again, call them up, connect with them any way that you can, because that makes a difference, just hearing one another's voice and knowing that we care. I want to introduce kind of 3 key shifts that I think are really helpful for us to manage at this time. Number 1 is moving from that perspective of the fixed mindset to what we call the growth mindset. So the fixed mindset is that belief that our ways of thinking, our ways of coping, and our abilities that's the way they are. They're fixed and they're not going to get any better. So that if you fail on a test or make a mistake, you think that it's your own failure, it's a quality that you'll always have. The growth mindset is that reminder that we always retain the ability to change and grow. And when we have frustrations, challenges, or even failures, that's an opportunity to learn and to grow. So I'll talk about some ways that we can continue to grow and learn, and how getting older is not just growing older and it's not a downhill battle. It's actually continued growth in our emotional wisdom and what we learn in our connections with one another. So moving from that fixed mindset to the growth mindset. Moving again from a sense of helplessness that we've all felt at different times to a sense of agency or ability to manage and to feel empowered individually and connected with the people around us. And moving away from this feeling of isolation, which we are in physically, to that greater sense of connectedness, who we really are as part of our community of loved ones and the community with one another. That you are not just one small person all by yourself, but you're an integral part of the greater whole. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about aging, and I feel more strongly about this the older I get. So what is aging? Well, it's obviously a part of life that we have to accept. But aging is really changing, which is what life is. We're constantly changing, and that's not necessarily bad. So patients are always coming in just pretty well every day on the phone now or on the video. The doctor will say, is this due to aging, this ache in my hip or my knee? Is this change on my skin due to old age, or is this change in my posture due to old age? And I try not to say that it's due to aging or old age. I give other reasons, like this is wear and tear on your joints. This is due to sun exposure or sunlight. This is due from laughing too much. Or this is due to gravity. So a lot of people think of aging like this. So the upper part of the curve, when we're young, we're growing, we're learning, and then we hit 20, and then from there it's all downhill. That's not the way I see it. I see the growth and the life curve like this, the blue arrow, that we're changing, but is not necessarily a bad thing, and that we have control which direction that arrow's going. So you are not growing old, but we are growing wiser. As I mentioned, there's such a wealth of wisdom and strength and just resilience, I know, in our collective room, in the audience. So again, I feel like I'm preaching to the wise. We are growing kinder. We do see that people are more patient as we get older. We become more humble. We learn what really matters, and that really is relationships. And we become more compassionate and generous. I really notice that in my patients as we travel through life. We become more understanding because we share more experience, and our loved ones share more experience as well. Oh, by the way, I'm throwing in kind of random pictures of one way that I've helped survive during the pandemic. So I started cycling home when I don't have any patient due to deliver in the next couple of days. So I ride through Central Park, and it's nice to be out in nature. So whenever you can, feel really connected to nature. It helps us kind of forget about all the little problems during the day, or some of the bigger problems that we don't need to worry about for the moment. So this is at Central Park in the last week, just a couple of days ago. Now, we sometimes are troubled by our emotions, but we have to recognize emotions are part of being human, and they really are the most valuable things to help us survive. That's why we're here, because we've had protective emotions. If we didn't get sad, we wouldn't be able to avoid the things that cause us pain. And if we didn't have anxiety, we wouldn't plan ahead. We wouldn't save for a rainy day. We wouldn't sound the alarm when there's danger, and we wouldn't run away from a beast that's attacking us. And without anger, we wouldn't defend ourselves or stand up for our loved ones. And finally, without love, we just wouldn't be here. So these are the two goslings that I saw at Central Park yesterday evening on the way home. But sometimes emotions can be overwhelming, especially with these circumstances. So I'll talk about 4 emotional health skills that are really good to get a refresher on. One will be just looking after ourselves physically and emotionally, and managing stress. I'll talk about a little bit about meditation and reflection, and we'll do a little meditation exercise. So I hope all of you are at home and not driving a car. If you are, please pull to the side and park in case you get sleepy and really relaxed. And we'll talk about managing our thoughts, because sometimes our thoughts trigger the emotions. And believe it or not, you have choice over your thoughts. And then finally, visualizing your goals. So managing stress. So I always find it helpful if I'm feeling overwhelmed by stress to think about what it is that's causing me to feel stressed, and recognize what aspects of my situation that I am able to change or control. So it's not usually a large part of it, but it could be some of it. So I need to accept what I can't change and what I need to accept right now, but assume responsibility for what I can control or change. So notice that I have a choice. When you realize that you do have some choice and some agency or a sense of control, then actually can relieve our sense of feeling overwhelmed. And it takes away that feeling and the thought of helplessness. And it's all encapsulated in this serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So what do we know about COVID-19? One of the major sources for our stress. Well, we've known that it's airborne. It could be passed in the air and spread by respiratory droplets. That's why we avoid closed indoor environments where there's not good circulation or proper distancing from others. We know we can prevent those infections by keeping our distance of 2 meters or 6 feet from other people, wearing our face masks. unless you're having a virtual meeting like we are, and washing our hands if they do get soiled or touching objects that could be contaminated by those droplets. Finally, we know that the vaccinations work, and they are working. And I hope many of you have already had your first vaccine. And within 2 or 3 weeks, you have a good amount of protection, and even better after you get your booster shot in 16 weeks later. And remember, your family doctor is here for you. So although our offices are not open to seeing 30 patients a day, we're managing even more patients with telephone or video. And when we do need to assess you in person, we can make arrangements to do that. So I do see maybe 3 to 4 patients where we do need them to come in, because we can't diagnose everything by phone or video. So remember to call your family doc. If you have any problems, if you need to review your prescriptions, or you have chronic conditions that need monitoring, the labs are still open. We can still do a lot of things by telephone or video if you prefer. And if needed, we can still see our patients in person, but using lots of safety precautions in the office to keep you all safe. So don't forget to call your doctor. And of course, the everyday things that you probably tell kids and grandkids and best friends, how to look after yourself. So the daily management of stress is what a good parent would say to you. So what the doctor says to you is go out and play. Make sure you get a regular exercise routine, even better if it's outdoors, but of course, keeping our physical distance. So of course, this is a picture of my dad at our walk with your doc that we had a couple of years ago. In those days, we didn't have to keep a physical distance, but still going for a walk with friends where you're appropriately distanced. Don't skip your meals. So schedule regular healthy meals, even if your appetite's a little bit down. Please continue that good routine. And go to bed. Even though our sleep has been disturbed, we do need adequate rest, and we're allowed to take naps if we need to do it. We have to balance that physical activity, mental activity with adequate rest. And then finally, as I mentioned, don't hesitate to call your family doctor for any of your health needs as any time before. Their staff and the doctors are still in their offices, by the phone, video, or needing to see you in person if needed. And of course, expressing our emotions is important, and doing it in a safe way with people that you trust. So it's really important to maintain your group of loved ones and best friends that you can trust, and to know that you can still contact one another by phone and even by video, as all of you become so sophisticated. My dad is 91, and I'm so happy that he's able to Zoom meeting with his Burnaby neighborhood house. And so you can talk to all the people you used to meet in person. And it's really important to join a support group if you don't already have one. I have my own support group of a couple of colleagues that I meet up with regularly in a virtual way. And again, attend to your relationships. So one of the nice things about the pandemic, one of the few nice things, is that all my kids for a while were all in the home at the same time, working in their rooms, but we actually had dinner together every day. 2 of my boys are working, but they're so lucky that they can do their jobs at home. And my daughter graduated from UBC studying from home as well. So that was a nice time. And for our pets, for our puppy Teddy, he's been so happy that we're around all the time. So those relationships, as I mentioned, that's what matters most. But I think the greatest tragedy is that we get so busy with our lives, with our work lives, or with finances, or with drama, that we forget to tell people and show people how much we love them. So I think the greatest tragedy in our lives is that people go through life not knowing how much they were loved. So don't miss an opportunity to show you care. And it's really important for us to express 5 positives for every negative, and that's because of how our brains work. We have survived because our brains pick up on things that are wrong and things that are negative. That helps us detect danger. It helps us check out to make sure we're doing the right thing. But it makes us more anxious. It makes us more judgmental. It makes us more critical. And it's so easy to find what's wrong with other people or with a situation. It makes us feel down and dissatisfied. But when we express the negatives and don't counter it with 5 positives, then it affects our relationships as well. People don't realize how much you value them, and we lose that sense of gratitude for one another. So with people, with your loved ones, before you make a criticism or have a negative comment, think of 5 positive things you're going to say first, before and after. And if it's too hard to think of 5 things, you better not say that negative. This really slows down the negative comments, by the way, because it's so much effort. But the more we do it, the easier it becomes. And then we're starting to see that the glass is more than half full. So that second key emotional health skill is meditation. So I use it to calm my mind when I'm stressed or overwhelmed, to center my thoughts, to assess my situation, and just to make sure what I'm saying and what I'm doing is aligned with who I really am and how I want to be for the other person. It's also good just as a pulse check or a compass check to reflect on our life, to make sure we're going in the right direction. One form of meditation is mindfulness, and I use that to really recenter and remain centered throughout the day. So I focused on the person in front of me or the important thing that I need to do right now. It also reminds me to enjoy life today. So when we feel strong emotions, I think of that as a meditation chime. When you feel a physical feeling of anxiety or a twinge of anger or frustration, I see that as a chime or a bell that goes off to remind me to pause and reflect on what am I feeling, what am I saying, and what am I doing. And it's good to reflect. It's like checking on the map to make sure you're going in the right direction. And it's important to frame each day with a particular meditation or a prayer of thankfulness. So I do this the first thing that I think of when I open my eyes in the morning. I say a prayer of gratitude. And that same thing, the last thing I do before I go to sleep, it's a prayer of thankfulness. And the first one I think about and gracious for is my wife next to me in bed. So thankful she is here. She's always by my side and supports me. And that my best friend for life. And then thinking about my children, my patients, my colleagues, and all of you, all that everyone is doing to make life worth living. So if you start your day with that, it really frames the day. That helps you to actively see those positives in our life. So the cup is not half full. By the time the day is over, for me, it's overflowing. Again, Central Park about a month ago when the cherry blossoms were out. So mindfulness is a type of meditation, but it's also an attitude. So people think of it as being centered on your breath or being centered on the taste that you're experiencing when you're eating, or being in nature and smelling the fresh flowers or feeling the breeze. So I'd like to take you through a little mindfulness exercise. So you can sit comfortably, and if anyone's in a car, make sure you're not driving and just park to the side. And just sit comfortably. You can shift and move around anytime you want. And you can gently close your eyes if it makes it easier. And just focus on the sensations and the sounds of your own breath. And don't force yourself to breathe slow or fast, but just notice your breath as it naturally comes, where you feel it the most. Maybe in your nose, in your throat, or in your chest or your belly. And if your mind wanders from the breath, just focus again on those sensations. The sensations of breathing in and breathing out. That's great. Now shift your attention to the sounds around you. Just notice sounds that come and go. Sounds around you in the room, and maybe sounds in the distance, or the sound of my voice. Now shift your attention to the sensations in your body. Some parts are warm, some are cooler. and some are really relaxed. And you could bring your attention back to with your eyes wide open and just reflect on if we attend to the sensations, the breath, or sounds just as they come without trying to control them. It settles us back to this sense of peace. And the more we practice this, we can start to quiet those restless thoughts or troublesome thoughts. So when we practice this every day, especially at times of stress, we can slow things down and be present for where we are in the present moment. With time, we start recognizing that we can accept things like the breath and sensations and sounds without trying to judge or control them. And with much of life, sometimes we just have to experience these changing sensations and thoughts and feelings without trying to control them or struggling against them. With time, we start recognizing thoughts that pop up and not getting lost in a train of thought. We just notice when we're having a worried thought or a worried feeling or a thought of judgment. And in a moment, I'll talk about how we can catch ourselves when we're falling into certain thinking traps that tend to make us distressed or unhappy. So with practice, we can all be masters of mindfulness, and it helps us recenter and to be present so that we can learn to enjoy every day and eventually every moment of every day. So the third skill is managing our thoughts. We tend to get lost in a train of thoughts and identify our identity with those thoughts. And then it gets really strong. We really strongly identify with their opinions and they get into big arguments over that. But the truth is our thoughts shape our emotions. And if we can control and manage our thoughts with kindness and compassion, we can manage our emotions. So there's a skill called cognitive behavioral therapy. It sounds very technical, but it's something that we can do every day. And it's based on the fact that we can transform how we feel, our emotions, by what we do, our actions and behavior, and what we think, those thoughts. So there's a lot of common unhelpful thinking styles that we all fall into. We all do this. And you don't want to judge yourself in a negative way for having these thoughts because we all do that. But it's helpful with that kind, compassionate mindfulness to recognize when those thoughts pop up and then decide if there's another way of looking at things if things are not working well with this pattern of thought. So I'll give you a few examples of how we can kind of counter in a kind and gentle way these particular thought traps. We call them cognitive distortions or thinking traps we all fall into. So number one is fortune telling, assuming that you really know how things will turn out. So none of us is mind readers. An example would be, I'll never be able to manage these feelings or I'll always feel this way. But you can counter this fortune telling thinking by realizing that we can't predict the future. I can't predict the future, but I can be ready for whatever may come. The second thinking trap is mind reading, really believing you know how the other person is thinking and how they're feeling when they said or did something. For example, I know why she hasn't called me. She did that just to hurt me. That's really making an assumption you really know what's going on inside someone else's head or heart. And we can counter that with more wholesome thoughts like, I should give others the benefit of the doubt and maybe check things out with them. Overgeneralizing. This is making broad assumptions based on a few facts on hand. An example is, like, you can't trust anyone. They're all the same. And we can counter this with more perspectives of one rotten banana doesn't make the whole bunch bad, and other people are individuals just like me. Polarizing is also called all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking, or good or bad thinking. For example, this pandemic is a disaster. There's nothing good in the situation. But as I already pointed out, there are some bonuses. For some of us, it's been really great, especially for pets, because their owners are home all the time. We sometimes have found ways to adapt and work together. And there's a lot of There's been a wellspring of support from the community and numerous agencies helping to help those who are disadvantaged in every city and town. We're realizing that my situation is not so bad. I have some support that others don't, and this challenge has really brought out a lot of kindness from many other people. And the other good thing is I haven't had to see all my in-laws every single week. We've seen each other virtually periodically. Shoulding. This is like inappropriately judging things, such as everyone should wear a mask all the time, or I have to be perfect. And we can counter that with more thoughts that he may not realize that he wasn't wearing his mask properly. She's probably doing the best she can. Personalizing means taking things too personally when they're not intended that way. For example, thinking, he did that deliberately just to hurt me. But we can counter that by thinking something like, maybe he's having a bad day. I'll just let that go. And when we're really anxious, we tend to catastrophize, believing the worst case scenario is going to happen. For example, I'm going to fail and I'll never be a success. This really is the end of the world. I'm going to get sick and I'm going to die. You can counter this thinking by thinking, I'll prepare for the worst, but I know it's not likely to happen. And I know how to stay well, and I know where to get help. That's really true. Sometimes we disqualify the positive, especially when we're feeling down or sad. So that's downplaying the positive aspects of your situation or other people and minimizing the good things that you have done. For example, just saying, oh, I was just lucky that time, or there's nothing good in this situation. And we can counter that by thinking thoughts like, I'm learning and getting better, which you are. Our family and community have really come together to help one another, which is true. So if you want to learn more about cognitive therapy, these are some books that I recommend to a lot of my patients and friends and family. David Burns wrote the classic Feeling Good, and he's wrote a recent sequel that's worthwhile looking at from the library. Authentic Happiness by Martin Seligman. Rick Hanson's book, Hardwiring Happiness. There is a program called Bounce Back. So it's bouncebackbc.ca if you can look on the computer. So it's actually a kind of a self-help cognitive therapy program that anyone can do. I've actually referred a lot of patients to that program. And it really is empowering and learning to recognize these troublesome thoughts and to be able to counter them a bit at a time. It's really a learned skill we get better with over time. And there's a really fantastic program I've referred a lot of patients to called the CBT Skills Group. So it started with doctors in Victoria. They put together a really good manual and a series of about 8 group sessions that they do virtually online. So now it's opened up to people throughout British Columbia. So it's called the CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT Skills Group, and it's free, and you can access it through your family doctor. So contact your family doctor if you think that might be helpful for you if you suffer from mild or moderate anxiety or depression and are interested in learning more about cognitive therapy and mindfulness. So, cognitive therapy is about reflecting on our thoughts that seem to trigger the difficult emotions and asking yourself, is there another way of looking at my situation? Another way of shifting that perspective is saying, what would I say to my best friend or a loved one if they were thinking these thoughts or feeling this way? It helps you shift that perspective. And the fourth emotional health skill I'd like to share is visualizing your goals. So you might remember from elementary school, Roget's Thesaurus. So that's that book that has synonyms, words that mean almost the same, and antonyms, words that mean the opposite. So you probably remember that from elementary school, maybe high school. But you probably didn't know that Roget was a physician. And he actually started creating a thesaurus because he was feeling really depressed. He had lost some loved ones, good friends, and he wanted to lift himself out of this sense of depression. So he started coming out with other words that meant the opposite of depression, like joy and peace and satisfaction and connection. So when we're stuck in a negative state, it's really helpful to think of the opposite. So that helps us move towards our goals. And then we can start doing things, planning things, and taking steps and getting support to move towards those goals. So I listen intently to my patients' list of problems. When I feel that I understand them, in order to have a plan of moving forward and solving them, I ask them to turn it around to look at what our goals will be. So instead of replaying the past or ruminating, replaying the negative, think about what you want. And finally, we should question our core beliefs because they kind of underlie these automatic thoughts that we have. Our core beliefs about ourselves, about the world, how the world works, about other people, and about life itself, the meaning of life and the purpose. So we've all accepted some incorrect beliefs about the world that don't seem to work well for us, and incorrect beliefs about other people and about ourselves. And I think life is about learning, growing in wisdom, and actually challenging our core beliefs that no longer work for us. And these beliefs really shape our worldview and how we tell our personal stories. So we all fall into these. I'll give some examples of some unquestioned assumptions and core beliefs that I've had and patients have had as well. Thoughts that are limiting who you think you are and what you can do. Like thinking, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve to be successful, I don't deserve to be happy or to have love, or the belief that you are powerless. Sometimes when we get praise as a child, we think that we have to be perfect in order to be loved because it seems to come with praise, although that's not what your parents intended. So that leads to perfectionism and a lot of self-judgment. Or if you've had some disappointments with other people, feeling I can't trust anyone, and if you've had a really hard life, that life is unfair. So if you have any of these negative core beliefs that are limiting, maybe ask yourself or talk it over with a friend that you trust to kind of challenge, are they working for me? And to ask that question is to see, do they bring you closer or further from other people? Do they bring you closer and further from your sense of connection and community with society? And do they bring you closer or further to your ultimate goals and the meaning in life? Do they foster positive feelings like love, connection, and peace? And do they inspire positive actions such as creativity, and kindness, and generosity? So I'd like to share a few positive core beliefs that I've come to acquire and reshape as I challenge my own negative core beliefs and limiting beliefs. I really believe that we're part of a greater whole, part of a family, and you are a member of this community. You and I each have a unique positive potential, and this is your gift to the world. And we are dependent on one another, and every one of us matters. I and you can make a positive difference with our actions, great and small. And I and you are continually learning and growing. We can each adapt to any change. Another limiting belief is this illusion of separateness, and that life is all about competition. And I really believe that the big problems in society and the world, including the pandemic and poverty and hunger and inequality and prejudice and war and racism, we can't solve these problems by people looking after themselves. And the inescapable truth is that you and I are not separate, independent individuals. And your well-being, my well-being, and the well-being of others are all dependent. Recognizing that you and I are global citizens, interdependent with every other person on this planet. What you say and do affects everyone and everything else. And when we realize this interdependence and this connection we have with one another and with nature and this planet, we'll start to see the positive evolution of humanity and life on Earth. But it begins with us. So together, let's be the change we wish to see. So I like to do a little exercise, if you'll humor me. I think we have a good amount of time. We'll leave time for questions at the end. So I'd like you, with eyes open or closed, just think about one other person that you don't know that well, or someone that you may have had a minor disagreement with. So not your best friend. So I want you to just imagine, with your eyes open and closed, you can imagine their face in front of you. And I want you to think these thoughts. I invite you to think these thoughts about that person as you see them in front of you. So this person was once a little baby held in the arms of his or her parents, loved and cherished, and helpless. This person was once a small child with lots of enthusiasm and dreams and excitement. This person has been loved by other people, has had friends. This person in front of you has had their disappointments, just like me. This person in front of you has had their share of tragedy and hurt and self-doubt, just like me. And this person just wants to be loved and to be happy, just like me. So we realize that we all go through our own tragedies and hopes and dreams, and that we all want the same thing, but we do it in different ways. And we bring to it our own beliefs and thoughts and experience that come from experience and good and bad things in the past. We can increase our compassion that those that cause us some suffering are suffering themselves and come from a place of suffering. And that we want to send to them love and compassion as we want for ourselves, that they may be and that we may be healthy and happy, peaceful and safe. Thanks for sharing that with me. So when we think of all the things that are stressing us now, we recognize that these changes are only temporary, just like everything else in our life. That we will be together again in person. Next time we have a dialogue in aging, it will be in person. And we will value what really matters, one another, our relationships. And we're going to love one another even more than before. So it's really helpful, as I said, to visualize your goals. So I'd like to invite you to really engage your whole mind and all your senses with really positive imagery. And so we can start with just relaxing our breathing in relaxation and breathing out tension. Let any tension you might have in your muscles relax. And let yourself sit comfortably wherever you might be. And in this state, see yourself growing calmer and stronger. Feel yourself surrounded by care and compassion. Imagine us in the near future creating a better world we've created together, with each person making a difference. And it's helpful for us to visualize this because we will make it happen if each of us does this. And we'll each be feeling more calm and stronger, supporting one another. So be an agent of positive change in your own life, in your community, and in your world. So our thoughts and our feelings and our core beliefs really shape our stories. And we can tell our life stories in many different ways. So if your life story makes you feel helpless or hopeless or negative about the future, I invite you to challenge it, to share it with others, to share it with those close to you. And maybe they can share a positive perspective with their compassion and love. So I'd like to kind of share my mom's story. So my mom was born in 1931. She had a very difficult childhood, but it's a very inspiring story that inspires me still. So her father died when she was about 7 or 8. And then her mother died when she was 9. So my mom was born in Vancouver in the Strathcona area, close to Chinatown in Vancouver. And in all, there were 9 siblings. My mom was near the middle. The youngest was in diapers still, and the oldest, my Auntie Hazel, was still in her teens when both their parents died and they were suddenly orphaned. So they were dirt poor and they didn't have any family that came to help them. And my oldest aunties, Auntie Martienne, Auntie Mamie, and Auntie Hazel, decided they were going to support the whole family and keep everyone together so they wouldn't be separated, and that all the kids, even down to the babies, would be able to get through school and they'd look after one another. And then they had another tragedy where one of my older aunties passed away as a teen in her sleep. So my mom's story has a lot of tragedy and tears and anxiety about safety, security, and staying together. But this taught my mom to give us the value that family sticks together and that love and dedication to one another will ultimately bring happiness. So those sisters and brothers stuck together, sacrificed themselves. My oldest auntie, Auntie Hazel, stayed home and she acted like the mom to the younger siblings. My other older aunties went to work, supported the family. Everyone did their part and they looked after one another. And that's why all my cousins and my surviving auntie, we get together every Boxing Day to kind of celebrate our love and these siblings that kept things together. So even 81 years later, after that tragedy, this is the result of transforming a really tragic beginning to one of love and perseverance and resilience. So my mom could have told her story differently, one of being a victim or feeling helpless, but it's a story of resilience. And she passed on that love and dedication for her family of siblings to her dedication to our family. So she looked after all our needs. And she really was the best example to me, someone that loved everyone unconditionally and saw the best in people and brought out the best in people. And her love went beyond her own family to everyone she met, to friends, to people in our church, to people in the community. And she was very active in the community until she suddenly died in 2003. And then after she died, it was a really hard not having her in my life. But I finally came to terms with it when I realized that the part of my mom that she gave me that's the most enduring and that made the greatest impact was her love. And that love she gave to me and my family and her friends and our community is a love that I still have to give forward to others. And as we're all part of the water cycle, we're all part of this love cycle. We receive love and benefit from people throughout our lives, teachers, coaches, parents, friends, and loved ones, and many strangers that we benefit from but can never thank in full. And our goal is to appreciate that love, to let it grow, and pass it on to others. So the best legacy I can give for my mom is to pass her legacy of love to my children, to my patients, to my community, to each one of you. And we're all part of this endless love cycle. And I think that is the point of life. So the way my mom transformed her story and how I view and think of the story of her life and her passing and how it shapes my stories has been empowering and inspires me still. So here's my family, and they know about all the love they received from grandma, even though they're young at that time. And they are loving kids that are passing on that care to other people in their lives. So engaging with life and coping with change. Change is that reality. It's part of life. It's part of who we are. It's the nature of all things. And it's futile to pursue and cling to things that don't last because nothing lasts. We have to appreciate what we have when we have it. Every gift we have, our loved ones, everything we can hold, a beautiful flower is not ours to hold forever. We must love and appreciate others while we can and let go when we have to. We need to accept what you cannot change, but accept responsibility to change what you can. Again, be an agent of positive change. Be dynamically responsive to these changes and seek out the positive potential of every moment. Because we can transform our minds as we age, Though our habits and thoughts of behavior seem to be hardwired, they're not. With effort and repetition and support, we can transform our minds and how we feel. This is how each of us adapts to a changing world. So we can each retell our life stories and see beyond this illusion of a separate, individual, smaller self. But it begins with us, each one of you and with me. We can all be agents of change. So together, let us be the change we wish to see. So we have time for questions. So I wanted to turn things over to Mary Lou if she can kind of let us know some questions. If they're in the chat, she can read them out for me.
Yes, absolutely. We'll read the questions out, and Christine will support that as well. But I don't want another moment to go by without thanking you with such gratitude for what you've shared with us this afternoon. And the story that you shared of your mother and your family was so poignant and meaningful. So thank you very much, Dr. Wong.
You're very welcome, and thank you, Mary Lou, for this opportunity to talk to you all.
All right, so we're just going to go and have a look here if there are any hands up. We're seeing some thank yous and saying it's just been wonderful, so kudos to you. We do have a question whether we might have a print copy of the slides to send with our newsletter. We do send a video recording out, but the print can be a little bit small. So Dr. Wong, we'll let you think about that.
I'll certainly put together and send to Mary Lou, and then if you're able to make it available, you're certainly welcome to.
Wonderful, thank you. And yes, just more thank yous coming in.
Thank you.
Don't think we've got any hands up. I'm just going back here to check. I think we're all just so very relaxed now.
Thanks. I hope no one was driving.
And more thank yous. So I think we're in the spirit of gratitude.
We'll carry that on to all the people in our lives, especially the great organizers of this event.
I think you've placed us just where you challenged us to be. You have helped us to arrive for the moment there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
So from all of us, I know you could. We know that all the chats, the thank yous in the chat box. So on behalf of all of us, thank you so much, and we wish you well. And I do have one last question, and I wonder if you've delivered that baby this week that was a possibility. So how did that go?
Good so far. She's due tomorrow.
All right.
She's an experienced mom, so when it comes, it'll come fast. I'm glad I didn't have to drop the ball.
Right. Well, we wish her the very best, and you with that. Such a wonderful new about a new life about to come into the world. So thank you.
And Mary Lou, just before we let Dr. Wong go, sometimes it takes a moment or two for the questions. We do have one that asks from Deanna, can you suggest stimulating activities for my 97-year-old parent who does not have a computer or Wi-Fi?
Well, when you're 97, we probably need doctor's advice before you overstimulate. So it depends what engaged her most when she was active, like during her work life or in childhood. It kind of reminds you about Carl Jung, who was a famous psychiatrist in the previous century. He found that when he was building his summer home in Sweden, working with bricks, it reminded him what he liked to do as a child, and then that really unleashed a lot of creativity in his theories about dreams. So doing things that we love to do as children, or what we love to do in our free time, So that could be singing or music can often engage, especially songs from our past that really gave us a sense of playfulness and love and connection. For some, it might be religious services that they attended before. So maybe familiar hymns might be helpful, or prayers. But music is always a wonderful thing, especially for my senior patients that are living in facilities, that music can really awaken a lot of energy and positive emotion. But whatever creative recreational pursuit she had in the past, then it comes from her story. So music may be a good start.
Great, thank you. And I'm still seeing thank yous come in through the chat here. So just to let you know how much your session was appreciated.
I have to tell you, my dad is 91, turned 91 in March, but he has been like the easiest dad to not have to look after. So I check on him frequently by phone, make sure he got his first COVID shot, but he independently cooks for himself, does his own laws, does his own maintenance, always offered to help, but he has not asked for any help even when offered any time in the last 5 years. So his secret is to be active, to be connected, learning to Zoom online, to connect with people, to be able to talk over the fence with his favorite neighbors and friends, and to keep his mind active. And actually, he just retired about 10 years ago. And that was one of his keys to do. He said, keep on doing what you love to do as long as you're having fun.
That's another wonderful story you have. Thank you.
I got lots.
Now, I thought I saw a hand go up, but it went down again. So if someone did have their hand up, please put it back up.
Or you can all do that, and it could be like the wave when we're in the stadium.
All right.
No, maybe not. All right, Mary Lou, I'll turn it back to you. Oh, hang on, something else is just coming in there. Let me just see here.
Well, while we're waiting, in case there is another comment to come, apropos of what you were saying about music, it's timely for me to mention that our last session before we have our summer break is going to be one on music, and it just is so related to your comments. So Susan Summers, who's a music therapist and has had such a wide array of experiences in her life in working with all age groups, working in the community, building community, working with caregivers and persons with dementia, such a wide array. But when she comes to us next month, she's going to be talking, I think, very much to us in a most engaging way that speak to us individually, and she's going to she's entitled her talk the music and wellness, the soundtrack of our lives, and how music relates to our physical being, emotional, spiritual, and so I think it will be a most engaging session. So I thought I'd just mention that while you're on, Dr. Wong, and maybe when that's finished and taped, I will pass that on to you, because there might be a point in it that a story that you enjoy from that as well. So in terms of sharing.
That's a wonderful topic, and next time I should have filmed this, or I should have done this in my office. So my office next door, I have a keyboard. I have a piano, because I was so thankful my parents gave us the gift of music, even though they couldn't afford music lessons when they were growing up. My dad in Cumberland and my mom in Vancouver when they were kids, because they were too poor. But they made sure we had piano lessons. And I told my kids they had to do piano lessons until they could play by ear and write their own music. So my kids had that similar gift, but I do have a keyboard that I like to play in the morning when I come, because we do need those kind of creative expressive outlets. And kind of we do create our own soundtrack.
Right. Yes. Yes. A lovely way for us to conclude our afternoon, and to thank everyone for joining us and having the opportunity to engage with you, Dr. Wong, and with Nancy and with Sarah earlier. So we thank everyone. And the last point I want to make, just in conclusion about the session next month in June, is that because summer's coming, we are going to we're going to have the timing different, and we're going to have this session at 7 p.m. So you don't need to come in from the wonders of the sunny day that day, and come in for 7 o'clock, and it will just be a one session presentation that day. And I think it will be just a kind of a lovely way to end our series before the fall series, which of course we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. I know we're all positive that things are moving forward very well with COVID, but it may well be that we're still virtual for a few more months yet. So we'll keep you posted on that. And Christine has sent out a survey that we'd like you to, like all of you, to take a moment to give us feedback on some of the things that you would like to have discussed in the fall. So thanks again, and best wishes to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Thank you, Mary Lou.